the JavaScript. So let's go into our text editor. For those of you following along with the exercise files, this is Chapter 6, Example 6, script.html. Our HTML file is pretty straightforward. We've got an image here with an ID of my picture, and then two links, one with the text previous and one with the text of next. So we can see this and we say, oh, we've done smart links before, where JavaScript handles those links. That's pretty much what we're going to have to do again. And we're going to want to also manipulate our image. So it's going to take several things that we've done before and put them together. So we start off with script.js. So the first thing we're going to want to do is change those links. So let's do our onload handler on our window, as you probably guessed by now, and we'll call it init links. Then there's a couple of variables we want to add to our script, and I'm going to paste those in. Here's our two new variables. The first is an array called mypics that is an array of image names: Pathfinder, Surveyor, and Surveyor 98. It's not image objects, it's just strings with the names of the images. And then there's a new variable called thisPic set to 0. That will keep track of what image we're currently displaying. So now we want to do our initLinks function, and we'll grab that and paste it in. Here's initLinks. What we're doing is grabbing document.getElementById prevlink. That's our link to that says previous, changing onClick, same as we have before with link handling, and it's going to call a function called processPrevious. And then we do just the reverse. We grab nextLink, set its onClick event handler, and it's going to call something called processNext. So now we need to add the processPrevious and processNext functions. So here's our processPrevious function. What processPrevious does, it's called when they click on the previous link. So we want to take a look at what this pic is. What picture are we currently displaying? You can have two different types of slideshows. You can have a slideshow that goes from the first to the last, and that's all you can do. Or you can have a slideshow that lets people go around and around, and when they go to the last one and they hit next, they can go back to the first one. Or if they're on the first one and they hit previous, they can go to the last. We're going to make this the second type because why not let them go in any direction? So if we want to process the previous slide, we check to see if we're on slide number 0. If we're on slide number 0, then we want to reset this pic to be the same value as the length of the array. So the length of the array is 3 in this case. Whether or not it was at 0, we want to now subtract 1 from it. So if it was 0, it went to 3 and now it's 2. If it was 2, now it's 1. If it was 1, now it's 0. So we wanted to end up with a number between 0, 1, and 2. And that's what we have now. So now we call document.getElementById myPicture. Remember, that was the ID of the picture on our page. And set its source to be mypics sub thisPic. That is the thisPic element of the mypics array. Mypics, again, was the array of image names that we want to be in our slideshow. And finally, we return false because we don't want that next page to happen. We want to tell the browser, okay, JavaScript did everything it needed to do. You really don't need to go and load in a new page here. We've handled it already. So processNext looks a whole lot like processPrevious. So let's just copy it, paste it, and modify it. It's processNext. instead of subtracting 1, we want to add 1. We want to do that first thing. So we say plus plus. Now we say if this pick is equal to myPix.length, then we reset this pix to be 0. So we knew we came in here with a number that was either 0, 1, or 2. We added 1 to it, which gave us 1, 2, and 3. If it was 3, we want to set it back to be 0. So we now, once again, end up with 0, 1, or 2. We do the exact same line here, resetting document.getElementById myPicture.source to be myPix sub this pick, and return false. So we save this, go back out to the browser, reload our page, and we get new images. And we can go backwards as well. And when we get to the end, it will just keep looping around. So back in our text editor, you see we initialized our links to handle the on-click of the previous and next link. We added a process previous function to handle the previous link, and we added a process next function to handle the clicking on the next link. You can add as many images now to this myPix array, and everything will automatically work. It doesn't matter how many different images you have. You won't need to change anything else in the script, because instead of checking for a fixed number of images, it will just reset itself based on the length of the array. There's one other little bit of trivia about how this is done. Unlike with rollovers, where we are loading in the images at the time the page is loaded so that things pop in as quickly as possible, here we're not loading new images until they've actually gone and clicked on the next. People expect slideshows to take a moment or so, and if you had, say, 50 images in your array, we wouldn't want the entire page to hold up while waiting for all 50 images to load in. So you can put that off until later, and that's perfectly reasonable. So there's how to do a simple image slideshow, and next up, more about images. Let's say that you have a web page with a nice image on it, and it looks great, but you have actually more than one nice image. You have a whole bunch of nice images, and why have your page look the same every time somebody comes there? You could have a different random image show up every time somebody loads the page. And it's very simple to do that using JavaScript. So let's go take a look at how we want to do this. If you're following along with the exercise files, this is Chapter 6, Example 7, script.html. The only thing on this web page is a big spacer GIF with an ID of my picture. It's a spacer GIF so that if somebody comes here without JavaScript, they'll get a blank space on the page. You could have some image show up as a default. The problem is that the person surfing to your site would see the first image load and then be replaced by the second image. And that may or may not be what you want to happen. So instead, we've put a single 1 pixel by 1 pixel GIF here, stretched out to the right dimension, that will load very quickly, and then, because you can't see it, it doesn't matter that it's immediately overlaid by something looking nice. So now we'll go over to the script.js file, which is where we're going to do the work. And as is common by now, we say window.onload equals choosePick, which is what we'll call our function. Now, before we set up the choosePick function, we want to set up our array of images. And we have a lot of images, so I'm going to copy and paste that from another file. Now we're going to paste that in, and you can see there's a number of different images here. And now we're going to do the choosePick function. Function choosePick, parentheses, curly braces. If you remember the bingo game, we used random numbers a lot. Here it is again, math.float floor, take that of math.random, which gives us our number between 0.00 whatever and 0.9999. Multiply that by mypix.length. Mypix.length in this case is 8, because I have 8 images. 8 times that random number is going to be a number between 0 and 7.999. The floor of that is the integer part, which is between 0 and 7, which I can then use to index into the array. And here's where I do that. Document.get element by ID, my picture, dot source, because we're changing the source of it, equals mypix, and then square braces, because it's an array, random num. And that's all there is to it. We get a random number, and then we grab the name of that picture out of the array, and then we load in that picture. So let's save it and see how it looks in the browser. And we've got a variety of different images showing up. In order to do this, it does help that all of these images are the same size. You're going to want to do that because whether or not you want them to show up at the same size, they will, because it's going to fill up whatever the dimensions were that you set up in the HTML page. So be sure to find images that work well in those dimensions. Once again, we just set up our new array of picture names. When the window loads, we call the choosePick function. ChoosePick gets a random number and then grabs that particular picture out of the array. Because we're using the array name here and using its length, we can add as many or as few names as we want to this array and not have to change the choosePick function. You could even have it in an entirely separate JavaScript file and just have this function be standard, but different pictures all the time. That's the end of talking about images. Next up, we're going to start talking about forms.